Welcome to Womenpreneur Asia, the podcast that celebrates the journeys and stories of remarkable women entrepreneurs across the region. I'm your host, Krista Gun, and welcome to Season 9. This episode is sponsored by Redbox Studio. Ever since I started my podcast, many business owners have asked me how they too could start their own podcast. That's why I decided to write an ebook, sharing everything that I do in my podcast, including the strategy and technical know-how. If starting a podcast is something you'd like to explore this year, check out my brand new ebook, Podcasting Power, available at womenpreneurasia.com. Today we have Phoebe Lee, who is the founder and managing director of Sonic Lobby in Malaysia, a company dedicated to helping businesses create unique and memorable audio branding. Ever heard a sound and immediately thought of a brand? That's what Phoebe specializes in. From her childhood passion for music to becoming an entrepreneur in a niche industry, she shares how she navigated challenges, embraced business growth, and found her own space in the audio branding world. If you've ever wondered how sound can influence brand identity or what it takes to build a business from the ground up, this episode is for you. Let's get into Phoebe's story. Hi Phoebe, welcome to Womenpreneur Asia.
Hi Krista, thank you for having me.
So Phoebe, today I believe I am going to get an education too, because I have never in my life paid attention to something like what you do. And even though in a way it is all around us, but in a way perhaps I've never really paid full attention to it until you came along and you told me that there's something like what you do. So Phoebe, without much further ado, could you let us know what it is that you have embarked upon as a business?
So I am the founder and the managing director of Sonic Lobby. So we are an audio branding company focusing on crafting sound identities for brands and businesses. Right? Sounds fancy. but to me, when I first explain to people in a simpler way, I would say, for example, McDonald's, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. So it's a sound that associates with a brand that reminds you of that brand. So that's a simpler way of explaining what audio branding is. Audio branding is about an experience that you are creating for your customers. How do you want your customers to feel through sound? So for example, like if you're running a spa clinic, you're running a beauty center, what kind of music would you play in store to make your customer feel the way you want them to? Because for example, you wouldn't play rock music, da-da-da, da-da-da, because the goal of visiting a clinic is to make you feel relaxed, feel like very comfortable, cozy. So you would choose soothing music, soft piano, mellow type of music. You play in the background in order to make your customers feel relaxed.
How do you embark upon it as a business, right? Like I said at the earlier introduction, it's like music is all around us, or sound is all around us.
Yep.
But we don't really pay attention to much of it because it's kind of like subconscious, right? Like we hear the music, we know it's there. Of course, we know when it's not there. It's like the room is dreadfully silent. But we also know when we hear something, like you said, pleasant and soothing and beautiful and all that. But how do you embark upon this as a business?
Right. I think it links back to my childhood, actually. Since I was a kid, I'm always passionate for music. But, in music, there are so many aspects. There are so many things that you could do within music. But I didn't know what it was when I was a kid. I just know I love music. So I started picking up singing lessons. Right. So,
how old were you when you decided you wanted singing lessons?
I think like when I was 6, like 5 or 6. So, like when you were a kid, right, you just dream to be a superstar. I keep telling my family, I want to be a superstar. I want to be singing on stage and something like that. So my mom just, signed me up for singing classes. And I was like, okay. And I enjoyed it. And then later on, I started picking piano lessons as well. So fast forward to after high school, I decided to pursue in music. So I enrolled in music college. But at that time, I still wasn't sure. Like, I love singing, I love playing the piano, but it wasn't quite something that I enjoyed doing. So I was like, I didn't know what it was. And then I remember during that time, there was a hint. So I was obsessed with this brand jingle from Pizza Hut. Like 1-300-885-25 on 308. It's like, it's so much easier to remember the phone number because remember those times we don't have apps, right? We didn't have apps. So we have to call to make orders. Then I couldn't remember the number. So my mom was like, can you help me order pizza? I was like, what was the number again? Oh, I remember the jingle. 1-300-882-525. I was like, oh, that's so much easier. I was like, whoa, having a song to help remember something that's so wonderful. So at the time, that was just like that. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know there was a thing called jingle. I just knew that I love songs. When I just moved forward to enrolling in music college, I took music production classes. I enjoy doing the production, like producing songs, writing songs. So I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. But I still wasn't sure. So until I came back to Malaysia, where I started working at a commercial music studio. So that studio basically do jingles for brands, the audio logos and jingles for brands. I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do jingles. That's so fun. Like you get to, because working there, I get to see different brands. I get to research different brands, how music could fit their brand. So that was when I found my passion. Okay, this is exactly what I wanted to do. So fast forward to, and then I left the job. I got some experience. I left the job, and then I started to go deeper. I was like, what sounds and music could do for brands and businesses. So I found out this thing called audio branding. It's how can you use sound and music to influence people's emotion? That's where I was like, oh, so it sound and music is not just about brainwashing. It's not just about being catchy. It's about making people feel a certain way. So that's when I was like, okay, I love this. So I decided to make this as my career. Like fast forward to now, I am here running the business and audio branding company, Sonic Lobby.
From childhood all the way up to now, you've carried that passion for music. And of course, you found a different way to express the music. I mean, when you were younger, it was singing and piano.
Yeah.
But along the way, it evolved, and then you came back from, where do you come back from? And you say you came back to Malaysia, but where do you study
I came
music?
back from Australia when I finished my master's. Right after I finished my master of music, then I came back.
And you started working in the audio music. Okay. Is it like a very niche industry?
It is a very niche industry, especially like commercial music, because I think a lot of people, they know song labels, like producing pop songs, for artists and those kind of things. I think those are more common, but for commercial music, that is a very niche thing, especially in Malaysia. It's quite common. I think it's quite common in like the Western countries, but in Malaysia specifically, it is quite rare, because whenever I mention to people, it's like, oh, I work at a commercial music studio. Oh, commercial music, that's interesting. Yeah, so I get response like that all the time.
And what is the next thing that you say to them? Okay, commercial music, that's interesting. Then the person will say, what's that all about? Then do you launch into the Pizza Hut thing?
Yeah, then I will start singing the Pizza Hut song, and then the chicken rice show. I just started all the brand songs. I was like, this is what commercial music is.
I think that is very much needed, because we never get so much exposure to that, unless of course you know that there is such a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So unless you know about it, then you'll be actively looking for it. So in the case of you starting your business, and how old is your business right now?
About 2 years.
Okay, about 2 years. So in the initial years of starting your business, did you have to do a lot of education and awareness?
Yes, I mean, oh my God, the first year, I mean, even though it's still hard now. I mean, on my first year, I think transitioning from being a composer at my previous workplace to becoming an entrepreneur, a business owner of my own production house, I think that is a very big jump, because previously when I was working, basically I was told what to do every day, day by day. So this is what you need to compose. This is what you need to do. Here's the brief, just make music accordingly. But right now I have to find connections. I have to find projects. So it was tough like that. Or during my first year, I was like, what do I do? I only know how to make music. How do I run a business? It was really tough for me. I'm thankful that I have my dad as my mentor. like, because my dad is in business, so he gave me a lot of advice that really helped me through that first year.
How did you overcome that from, okay, I was a composer, or I did music and I worked for someone, and now I am on my own. I have to be the one doing the sales and the marketing and everything else, right? So you put on multiple hats as an entrepreneur.
Multiple hats.
Yes.
Yep.
And what were some of the, if you could have any early memories of that first year of starting your business, what do you do for yourself to get out of that composer to entrepreneur?
I think the first year, it was a big mistake that I made was I tried to do everything myself, because I think I had troubles trusting people that, oh no, I don't think they can do a better job. I think I have to do everything, like I have to go find jobs, but at the same time I have to do music. Like I don't let people touch. Because right now I'm actually running with my husband, my partner. So how did I overcome? I think me and him actually sat down and talk about it, saying that, okay, I can't wear multiple hats at the same time, especially now we're just starting out. We need hands, like you need people to help you. So he actually sat me down, and then we just kind of assessing our strength. So my strength is like, okay, I like networking, I like talking to people, I like learning from people. So why don't you focus on going out to connect with other people, to go events and, try to get sales, get projects. Whenever I get a project, then I pass to him, and then he will do the internal work. And then if we need more hands, we could always outsource to partners and friends. So that's how I got through my first year, that I have to let go the ego of having to do everything myself. So the second year, I actually made a huge improvement just because I let go. I was like, okay, let go. Just do your job properly. Just stay in your role, and everything will be okay. And it does. I mean, it did.
So you had to really focus on being the sales and marketing person, going out to events, networking, talking about Sonic Lobby, talking about the work that you could do for their businesses, right? And audio branding.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your husband, I assume he's also a musician, composer.
He's also a music composer. Yeah. So I'm...
Okay. That itself was interesting. I did not know that. About that you were partnering with your husband. But that's very interesting indeed. And how has it been working out?
I mean, the first year was a nightmare. Like what I mentioned earlier just now also, I tried to do everything myself. I was a bit like, I was controlling a little bit, like, so I kind of a bit judgmental. I think that's my personality. But
even though your husband...
Yeah, I mean, I have a little big ego, in the first year. But then, the first year, how we worked was, I think, like what I said, I tried to control everything. But then, to a point that Sonic Lobby isn't making much progress. So that's when, like, my husband kind of sat me down. Okay, this is not working. Let's work out something, Then, we had a talk, and then we just kind of, okay, this is your role, this is my role. All right, let's try it for a while. And then it works like a magic, it's really growing, and I can see progress, and I'm so much happier also actually right now. That was like, oh, my job every day, like I know exactly what I have to do every day without having to like, oh, I need to go see this client, oh, need to go network. But at the same time, I need to go back to studio to make music. So that is a big change for me.
Now, interestingly, you mentioned your father as your mentor. Could you talk a little bit about that and how he helped you, or how he gave advice, or what kind of advice did he give? I'm curious to know. Is he also a musician?
No, he's not. He's not. He's in construction. Although he's like retired, half retired now. When I was studying in music college, he has been like trying to tell me about the business side of things. But that age, a bit like rebellious. You don't want to listen. Just like I don't know. Like he tried to give me advice, but I didn't listen because I wasn't running my own business. So I think it wasn't at the right timing for me to listen. After I start my own company, that's where I feel very lost. When I felt lost, I suddenly remember that my dad has been telling me a lot of business advice. So let me go talk to him again. So I sat down with him and I started asking for opinions and advice and stuff like that. And then my dad was telling me that. I remember the one thing that he told me that still sticks with me today is that if you want to run a business, if you want people to know about your business, you can't just stay in the studio. You can't expect like, you can't just focus on making the best music and expect people to know that you have the skill. You have to go out there. You have to tell people. You can't just hide in the studio. Like, that's not running a business. If my goal is just to be a composer, that's fine. But I'm running my own business. Being a composer and being a business owner, being an entrepreneur is a totally different thing. That's what he told me. So I think at the time I was like, yeah. And then, like last time I didn't really want to listen to him, but because I think I felt very lost in the first year, so I followed his advice. And it works. So I was like, so along the way, even till now, he's still my mentor. Every time I face a problem, I face a challenge, I would go ask for his advice, like what should I do? What's the next step?
I think that's really sound advice because it's true. I mean, a lot of times I meet people who are very good at what they do. But the unfortunate thing is sometimes in today's age, right, if no one knows of you or no one knows about you, it's very hard, even though you may be the best person for the job or the best creator of that product. It is very hard. So you really have to go out there and at least share what you do and tell them what it is that you can offer others rather than hoping that someone will knock on your door and say, hey, I want the stuff that you're making or I want the product that you're creating, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So perfect advice.
I mean, it sounds very like makes sense, but at that time I was like, I was a bit in denial. I didn't want to take his advice before I started my business. But right now I see it is so true. Yeah.
But because you have a personality for going out there and talking about your business, that actually fit your personality. So it could be more resistant if the person was a lot more introverted and just didn't want to go out, right? I mean, that would be a different outcome of that.
Yeah, actually, I mean, when I first started going out, I was very uncomfortable. I was actually, I don't consider myself as an extrovert. I think I'm a bit of a mix, like intro and extrovert. At first, when I started going out, it felt so uncomfortable. Like, I was like, what do I say? Like when there's like awkward silence, like you have to keep finding topics. And then when people don't understand because when I first explain to people about my business, I think I'm also learning how to express myself, how to explain in a way that people could understand without using like fancy musical terms. There were many times that I met with people and then I explained my business, there was like awkward silence. I was like, oh no. And then I actually doubt myself and kind of like, oh, am I not suitable for this? There's a lot of doubts and criticism within myself saying that maybe I shouldn't start my own business, it's not the right thing for me. But then I'm really thankful having my dad with me that just keep pushing me. Like this, he was telling me this is part of the process. You can't just expect you're good at one thing like out of a sudden. It takes years, it takes practice. So I took in his advice and just keep doing. I keep meeting people and then now it comes more naturally to me when I talk to people. So yeah, I really have the credit to him.
Did you learn any interesting techniques to explain what you do? Yeah.
So if I were to, like when I first meet someone, people would ask me like, okay, what do you do? I would say, oh, I do audio branding. They'll be like, what is that? Oh, so McDonald's, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. When you hear that music, it's that brand. They'll be like, oh, I think that this works like a charm every single time. It's like, oh, they get it like instantly. Although there's of course a deeper meaning of what audio branding is, but this is like a first conversation starter that people actually get interested. So tell me more about it. So this is the trick that I keep using.
So that's your opener, lah. That's your opener.
Yeah, that's my opener. Yeah, that's my opener for all my conversations. Yeah.
Okay. So just say someone comes to you and say, "Hey, Phoebe, I really like this idea of audio branding. I really want to do something for my company or my business. So what is that process like for the person who comes in and say, I am willing to undertake this process. I want to learn how to create a beautiful jingle or a sound that is associated with my brand. What is that process like, and how do you take them through that process?
Right. Okay, so when a prospect comes to me, then I would, of course, understand what their business is. And then I would do a proposal. And then in the proposal, I would always say, like, try to explain what audio branding is, like what are the tools that we use in audio branding, for example, jingle and audio logos. So jingle, I think a lot of people know the term jingle, but they don't know the term audio logo. So there's actually a difference between the two. So audio logo is usually 2 to 5 seconds, a short sound like McDonald's, pa-da-pa-pa-pa, or like, oh, gawa, it's a musical versions of a brand's logo. So that's audio logo. Whereas jingle is usually, say, 30 seconds with or without lyrics. Is what people always say, brainwashing songs, catchy songs. So those are called jingle. So after explaining those two, and of course there are other tools too, like user interface sound, like, when there's payment confirmation, they have like, or like LinkedIn has their own user interface sound as well. Like when you get a notification, like those kind of sound. Or in-store music is what they play in-store to like what I said earlier about the spa clinic, what kind of music they play in-store and stuff like that. So for example, after that, then I would actually look at their brands. Like let's say if they are active on social media, they make social media videos to promote their products. So I suggest, okay, a jingle and an audio logo would fit your brand. Then I will give example, like say, okay, we have that 30 second jingle, and then to end with the audio logo, let's say 30 seconds, and then this is the full length of the song. Because not every jingle is 30 seconds, sometimes 15 seconds, sometimes 6 seconds. So we would actually cut down into different chunks for you to use in your videos. So it's actually facilitate the process of your marketing team to having to cut the music or find the music that fits your product and those kind of things. But having a jingle that represents your brand, that actually makes the whole process easier. So, okay, I already have a song that belongs to my brand. This is what I'm going to use every time I post social media videos. So this is how the process is, like how they could use the jingle or audio logo with their brand. There was one brand that I work with, is they have a mascot. They have a mascot that represents the product. So every time the mascot comes out, we will actually play the jingle so that it will attract kids and, what is it? And they will go grab balloons. They will see, it actually attracts people to come see, what's going on? So this is one of the, what we call touch point that they could play or use the song for.
So it's actually multi-use. So it's not just like, okay, you create something for me and I'm going to use it just for the video or my social media.
Multi-purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, because actually we would analyze the brand, like what kind of touch points they have. What we call touch point is, let's say, events, social media videos, the places that they can interact with the customers. Those are called touch points. For example, if they have an app, then maybe it could be the notification sound, like shopping, those kind of things.
Which can get quite annoying.
Yeah, which can get quite annoying, but it reminds you, because I need to go
and buy something.
Sales. Yeah, buy something.
I need to go and get something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really multi-purpose. That's why there's no one blueprint that fits all brands, because every business is different. Like sometimes the business has store, but some other brands, they don't have store. They just have maybe social media. They only have an app. So it really depends. Like we would always analyze the brand first before proposing something to them.
Okay. And how long is this process from analyzing the brand to creating something? I don't know. Do you call it a first draft, or do you call it like something that, first draft, that they can listen to it first?
Yeah. So I think the proposing, and then until they confirm, then we'll come out with the first draft. I think the time consuming part is whether they are okay with the direction before we start doing. So we actually propose some idea first with references, see if this is the direction they are okay with. And that is always the part that takes longer time. Then after that, once it's confirmed, then we'll come up with the first draft. So for example, like 30 seconds jingle, usually for my side to come up with the first draft is usually like 2 to 3 days.
Oh, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, so once the concept is set, the direction is set, it's actually quite fast, the process.
And then from that first draft, like usually take a typical client, for instance, how long does it take from that first draft to the final publishable jingle or audio?
Jingle. Yeah. So back and forth. Usually is, feedback sometimes takes a bit longer than expected, but from my experience working with clients, usually from the first draft to release the product is about, maybe the longest time I had was 6 months. Around 6 months, but the fastest one sometimes 1 month, 2 months, depends on how rushed they want to get the song out.
And normally in a case like this, what are the costing like? Or is there like a starting from how much can they expect to pay for a service like yours?
Like what I say, every brand is different. So the costing for each one, because we always have to see what they need. Then when we propose, then it's different price for each one. So there's no like one thing how much, because like let's say if we want a jingle, like we have to consider about the license, the copyright, or like the talents, how long they need it, what is it, or the recording time, how long it takes, the studio rental, those kind of things. So there's no fixed price for every for
so
project.
It's a custom project with custom pricing depending on the client's needs.
This depends on what they need and what we think would benefit them as well. So we would suggest. So like for spa clinic, a jingle doesn't fit them because you wouldn't want a brainwashing song playing in the clinic all the time. It would be so annoying.
So basically a lot of it is just sitting down with the client and understanding where they need it for, right?
Yep.
Then you start customizing or creating a proposal based on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your case of running your business, were there any interesting clients that you could think of? And you don't have to mention names, but any interesting clients with requests or for music requests, I guess, that you could think of that makes you laugh? Maybe sometimes, some people will end up with strange and crazy requests.
Let me think. Okay, good questions. Actually, a lot of interesting people. I think clients.
But because yours is a creative business, right? People expect creative stuff.
Yeah, I think. But it's. I think it's more not really crazy, but in more of a interesting experience, I guess. One of the clients that I work with was like, they have a mascot, right? But we didn't know that they were gonna play at a roadshow, at an event. When a song is played, whether it's just for phone play or like play in a roadshow, the mix has to be different. It's like the way we edit, the way we mix, because it's for clarity. Because at an event, because the space is so big, so there's certain technique that we need to mix the song that's required so that it's more clear playing at an event. The client was telling me that, they were playing at the song at this event, but their employees were saying that the song is too muffled, like when playing the loudspeakers. So the client came to me and say, I actually got a feedback from the employee that you cannot hear the words properly. What can you do about it? Then I was like, okay, like at first, because we also didn't know you're playing at an event, so we went ahead and I actually went to the event, one of their events, to try to listen. And then it's very funny. The employee would just come to me, having that song playing at the event, it makes us so happy. Like we really like the song. Like all the kids love the song, but the song, got one part like it's a bit not clear. Like they would tell me like what is not clear, and then told me to fix, which is quite interesting. I was like, okay. And then they would just ask me, okay, you stand here. Then they play the song during an event when they are trying to rehearse it. I was like, And then he was like, see, the very right, this part cannot hear properly, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay. And I went back, of course, to fix the mix and then make it better. When I sent it back to them and then when they played at an event and I went again the second time, they were like, oh, you see, it's so much clearer. It's so much clearer. What magic did you do? Blah, blah, blah. Like, they were so excited and they loved the song. I think that also makes me feel very good as a composer, as a business owner. So I think that was one of the very interesting experiences, like where they dragged me to an event to actually listen to the song and let me know like what works, what doesn't work, what's not clear, what's clear, and then told me to like go fix it. So it's quite cute. Like I love it and I appreciate it. Instead of complaining, no, the song is not good, it's not clear, but they'll tell me like, you see this part, they'll tell me very precisely where to fix. I was like, oh, okay, that. So it was a very fun experience.
Did you in the end feedback to your client, like, because the song was not made for mass play in a way, right? For a bigger auditorium or bigger space rather than whether it is an in-store or whether it is like a small space? What was that part of the process?
When she told me about the song not clear in the event space and then I actually explained to her. She was one of the very nice clients that she was actually explaining the concern. Then I explained to her, I didn't know you were playing at the event, so maybe I can improve it for you. But then before I do that, could I visit your event to see how I can help better so that I understand what the problem is? So I actually went. So it was a very nice process the whole time. Like even though they have concerns, they don't just complain, they actually tell me what the problem is and what needs to be fixed.
I guess in your business, you get to see how it's used. Because that's like the end product, right?
Yes.
At a space that probably normally you wouldn't think of it being used, but it's very interesting with the mascot and all that.
Yeah, because I actually didn't know that that's how they're gonna use it, and which also gives me an idea. Oh yeah, this is one of the touch points. This is one of the ideas I could propose to my other clients as well.
I know that you're in the business of music, right? Making music, composing music. But what still surprises you about music?
Like whenever I talk about my business, right, they would say something like, music, like you're a composer, but isn't it like we can find music online? We can just go find the library music. Isn't it so much faster and cheaper? Like why do we need a composer to compose it? This is actually what I get quite often also whenever I talk about, and I actually, like, this happened recently also, where I explain my business and talking about jingle, blah, blah, those kind of 30-second songs. And then their feedback was, 30-second songs? Who listen to 30-second songs? Like this kind of feedback. And it's still surprised. It really shocked me. I think it's not surprised me, but shocked me. I was like, oh, okay. But I think, and it's, I cannot deny that I didn't know how to respond at the time. I was like, okay, so then you're not my ideal client then.
Which is a good way of filtering out the people, right? Wrong kind of people.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, you're not my client then, okay. I think music is intangible, something you cannot see. So they don't see how unique it is or like how important music and sound is.
And do you have a better response now to people who are skeptical about, music is easy to find, free, no need to have a composer, someone to compose a unique sound for you?
Yeah, I think right now, I would give a better response. I probably would say, I actually always use visual logo as an example. That, logo, you also can find a lot online, right? Would you want to use the same logo as other brands, as other business? Same thing for music. So you use the stock music, you use library music. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want music that represents your brand, of course, it has to be customized, because then there's no association. So that's how I would explain. Like, if you want a piece of music that represents your brand, looking for stock music and library music, that's just not gonna work, because other people could be using the same music. Yeah,
so if you want to be memorable, I guess, you also want to start thinking about branding, because visual branding is one way of branding, but audio branding is still quite a new way for you to explore rather than just the visual, right? And until I spoke to you, I know that all these things are around us. It's just that there was no name for it. I know it was jingle or music, but there was no real term that I could pin it on. So then when you came along and say, oh, that's audio branding, audio logo, jingle and all that.
Jingle.
And then I started thinking, oh yes, all those sounds I hear in the supermarket.
Yes, exactly.
That is a music worm in your ear for the rest of the day. And then you just can't shake it off, right?
Yeah.
So that's quite an influence, right? A powerful influence.
Yes. Sometimes to explain in a simpler way is that just take movies as examples. This movie, like for example, Pirates of the Caribbean or like the shark movie Jaws, without the music, it wouldn't have the same impact. Imagine like the shark movie Jaws, they're trying to create something that's danger, that they have a very iconic music. Without that music, you probably imagine if you use like baby shark. So that's the power of music. That's how powerful music is to influence someone's emotion. So when I use this as an example, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I always explain in a way that's easy to understand lah. So sometimes when I use like supermarket, those kind of things, it's a bit too vague for them. But I say, do you watch movies? So I will just use movies as an example. So everything just makes sense to them.
Okay, so now that we talked about what you do for your clients, what about you? What is your signature sound? Do you have a signature sound for yourself?
For my signature sound,
or signature music, or signature.
I think the reason why I fall into audio branding and fall into like the commercial kind of world is because I feel like my identity is. I think a lot of people ask me the same questions, like what kind of genre that represent you, what kind of style that represent you. But I always tell people that I actually enjoy all types of music, and I'm very adventurous in terms of music. I think there was a period of time where I tried to be a singer-songwriter. So I tried to find my own sound. I tried to be artist that is very consistent and very sure like what kind of music direction they want to go for. But I just couldn't. There was a period of time I tried to be a singer-songwriter, but I just couldn't. I couldn't find my own sound because I have different thoughts every day. Every day when I listen to different piece of music, I was like, this sounds interesting. Let me try to make that. At the time, I didn't know what it was until I found my passion in audio branding and in commercial music. Everything makes sense because in audio branding, every brand is different. Every business is different. Corporate has the corporate sound. Kids products have kids product sound. Like every business has different sound, and I love that. I love exploring different sounds and genres instead of just sticking with one. That's why it makes sense that I'm not a singer-songwriter.
And luckily you found your niche in this music industry. Yeah. And then you are able to create music for other people to use.
Yeah. I think I enjoy making music for people rather than myself. I think this is something that it took me a while to actually accept this. When I was singer-songwriter, I tried to create music for myself, but it just doesn't work. It's just not me. Like I couldn't feel me, I just don't know how to proceed with being a singer-songwriter. Like something just doesn't make sense. But when I found my passion in audio branding, it progressed so much faster. Because I love to go out too, so I get to hear different kind of music when I go different stores, different shops, or talking to different people. There's so many variety, and I enjoy that. I really love that. I really embrace that. I get to do this kind of music. I should do this kind of music. This brand would fit this kind of music. So I kind of found my identity along the way lah.
So now that you have talked about your business, let's talk a little about Phoebe and Phoebe growing up. First of all, where's your hometown and what do you do growing up besides music?
So I grew up in Kedah, Alausta, and when I was about 6 years old, then I moved to KL. So
because of your father's business? Is it because of your father's business?
Yeah, it's because of my father's business. Then we had to move here. And then pretty much all my family members are born in Kedah, except for my younger brother. Then, because of my dad's business, then we moved to KL. And then for me, oh gosh, besides music, what did I do? I love outdoor activities. I love exploring. I remember my mom was telling me that I don't know, like climbing the trees. Like they always say I'm very tomboy since I was a kid, because I don't do what a girl would do, like, you know, playing Barbie doll, you know, like trying to have like a little kitchen, you know, like to do something that's very
masa, right?
Masa. I love like playing like SWAT, those kind of thing, like cars, and then I like cycling, going out. I like exploring. I always like different things, and like I was always tell my mom, can I try this? Mom, can I try that? Mom, can I do this? Can I do that? Like I would never always stick with one thing, and I cannot do one thing for long. Like my attention span is actually quite short. I want to take, like, let's say I want to take badminton lesson and then class, and then maybe like after a week or so, I will say, Mom, can I try tennis? Mom, can I try basketball? Like I always want to do different things. So I guess that explains why I'm in audio branding, which everything is different.
Yeah, every client is different, right?
Yeah, every client is different. Every brand is different. It's just, I think it just comes out from my personality since I was a kid. Yeah.
And what keeps you excited and growing? I mean, since you say you were short attention span, something must be keeping you excited about different things.
I think I'm always curious. Like I am always curious about what if this? What if I do that? What if I try this? What if I try that? What if I, like, there's a lot of what if in my head, and I actually want to go experiment that what if instead of just thinking my head. So I think that keeps me excited every day. Like even till now, I'm always thinking like, tomorrow, what should I try? Like what kind of sport should I try? What kind of exercise should I try? Like that keeps me excited every day, for me to always find new things to do. But I'm thankful that I'm still sticking with my own business, that I don't just give up and try different things.
You haven't started another business, right?
You're still doing your business. Yeah, I'm still doing my business. So I guess that's a good thing.
What do you think we should talk about more, but we don't talk about enough as women in business? For me, I think one of the things we don't talk enough about is this fact that most women feel that they are not good enough to do certain things, whether it's starting a business or not. It doesn't have to be starting, it has to be like maybe applying for a job, applying for something that they want to do, or just going for something. Most women will feel a lot of anxiety. They feel that they have to get everything in order before they get started, or they have to check all the boxes first before they can even apply for something that, like maybe a scholarship or a position in a company and all that. So I feel that women should just normalize talking about that. Like we feel that yes, that's not a good thing, but if more and more women start talking about it, we can say, hey, don't worry, just apply. Like these days, this is what I tell all my women friends. Sometimes they come back and tell me, oh, I saw this thing and I wanted to do it. But it has, like sometimes they have some criteria and they don't meet one or two of the criteria. Even though they meet the 5 or 6, right? They will focus on the 1 or 2 things and say, I cannot, I don't have this. They want a master's in something and I don't have that. And I guess for me, sometimes I just tell them, just apply, regardless of whether you fulfill the last 2 criteria or not. Because you'll never know. Maybe those 2 criteria were not the most important criteria that they were trying to look for in that person for their job or that thing that you wanted. So these days, just go and apply first. I mean, who knows, right? Maybe they look at the other parts of your resume or background, or look at your profile and they say, hey, but this is an interesting person. Regardless of these 2 other things, she doesn't have a master's in this. Who cares? Let's go and talk to her first. So I think we should really think of that, like, just do it, right? I mean, regardless of whatever it is that you want to do, whether you're starting a business. But of course, starting a business has a little bit more risk involved, right? Because you're putting all your money and time and energy into starting something. But if it's something simple, like I would say applying for something where it could be 50-50, it could be 80-20, it doesn't matter what the chances are in your favor or not. I mean, that is something I would say will be interesting to tell women, like, just apply. Even men, I mean, not even women, and sometimes men also feel that anxiety, right?
Yeah, I think because also, especially I'm not sure in other field, but in my field, women as an entrepreneur is very rare. And and it's also according to statistic also, like in say the audio field, like composers, producers, engineers, those kind of things, I think it's like a 9-to-1 ratio. Where
wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it's 9-to-1 ratio. It's a very huge thing. I remember during my college time, where we get to choose different courses and stuff like that. And then I forgot who was telling me that women has higher chance of acceptance rate compared to men. It's because they're trying to encourage women to enroll. So, which is quite interesting, honestly. And then I think I remember I had an experience also when I went out with my partner, that I think we were meeting I forgot who we were meeting, but there was someone. So whenever he tried to talk about like potential business opportunities and stuff like that, he would always look at my partner instead of me. Like he pretty much ignored me, where I was like I was trying to really interact with him, but I'm not sure what it was, but I feel like I wasn't being respected. He would just ignore my question and I would just talk to my partner. I'm not sure if that's I don't know, that because I'm a woman, that
in the music industry.
In the music industry.
Or in the music business, I would say this is a business, right?
Yeah,
Not just music industry.
Yeah, so I didn't know what it was. I was like, I felt like, is it because I'm a woman? Because most of the people in that business event is all men. I think there were just maybe a few women there that I was being ignored the whole time. I think that's also contribute to like why maybe women would, like what you say, they are scared to start the thing because of the stereotype thinking in the current industry, in the current age. So yeah, I think like what you say also, this is something that we shouldn't be scared to talk about. So I would really want to encourage more women to just go out there, just try. Because women like me, I'm emotional. Like every time I do something, I will overthink. What if, but like they're looking for this, but I'm not that. I don't have that. I don't have that quality. I don't have that skill. So I would really hope that more women would just stand up, just go do it. Just do it first before you overthink.
Good one. I didn't expect that because I thought in the music industry, pretty gender friendly. So the other thing I wanted to know is, this is kind of I would say a little less difficult question.
Oh, thank God.
What's in your handbag besides your wallet and phone?
What's in my handbag? A mirror?
That's good.
Yeah, I have a mirror and name cards. I think name cards are like my must-have when I go out. Because you never know, you bump into anyone.
Yeah. And there are people who don't carry name cards and they will tell me, I switched bags and I didn't put my name cards. You should have name cards in every single bag you carry.
Exactly. It's in my wallet, sometimes I put it in my pocket, just that's the first thing I would check before I go out.
Smart. I like that. Okay, so what's next for your business?
What's next for my business? Yeah, actually that's a good question. I actually want to do more audio branding sharing session to really spread awareness of this industry. I think a lot of people are more familiar with visual branding, those kind of thing, but that not many people know what audio branding is. I think the next step for me is to really conduct more sharing sessions. I think I really want to just spread awareness of this topic to let people know at least that, hey, such thing exists. So yeah, that's my next step.
And of course, you started with my podcast. So I guess in a way, people will get to know about what you do and how you do it, and more awareness. I think that is good because sometimes, like you say, you get some strange, shocking questions because they don't know what it is. And they don't know what they don't know, right? Actually, the truth is they don't know what they don't know. And so they ask a really dumb question. But I guess dumb questions are always... They ask a dumb question, but but you can clarify that in your follow-up answer.
Yeah. Right now, it's to really get more visibility and let people know lah. That's my goal, is to just go out there more to let people know that such thing exists.
Okay. And normally now, what kind of clients do you work with?
There's a mix, really. Like we have corporate clients. We also have more FMCG kind of clients. We have also like video production houses clients that we work with as well.
Okay, so we have had an interesting conversation for an hour.
Oh, it's been an hour already. That's fast.
Time flies when you're having great conversations, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So finally, where can people find you online?
I think we can find me on LinkedIn. I've been trying to grow my LinkedIn recently. So I've been quite active on LinkedIn. And also they can find me on my website, www.soniclobby.com. Or they can find me on Instagram as well, just Sonic Lobby.
And if you connect with Phoebe on LinkedIn, and if you heard about Phoebe from Womenpreneur Asia, please let her know too. So that we know that we made a connection. And even though, sometimes there's really, it's just the fun in that. Like that's the fulfilling. I mean, it's so rewarding and satisfying to know that sometimes, my podcast goes into people's ears. And then people will reach out to other people. And I think that helps a lot of entrepreneurs. Visibility and also the story of why and how you started your business.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think what you're doing with the podcast is really great. Get all the women together to talk about themselves, to share about their business and stuff like that. I think it's really meaningful. And I'm glad to be a part of it.
And thank you for being part of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Krista.
And that wraps up another heartwarming episode of Womenpreneur Asia. From dreaming of being a superstar as a child to carving out a niche in the world of audio branding, Phoebe has shown us that success isn't just about talent. It's about rethinking one's assumptions, being bold, and moving forward despite the challenges. Her story also reminds us that it's smarter to take on roles that align with our strengths. She started seeing more progress when she stopped trying to control everything and moved away from being a composer to becoming an entrepreneur. And if you love these conversations, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And share this with a friend who needs some inspiration in business. Let's keep celebrating and supporting women entrepreneurs across Asia. See you next Friday for another incredible story.